Hello everybody, this is Stephen Howson. This is Full Time Devils and this is the Full Time Review. This is the place where we're going to sit down, we're going to talk through it together. It's like group therapy, isn't it, after the game. We're on Facebook, we're on YouTube, so you guys can come, get in the comments, and I'll be reading the comments out and talking to you guys as we dissect what happened at the weekend, and as the headline of this video is, what's going on with Jose Mourinho and the contract negotiations and the contract talks. Now, I do not like the fact that he's come out and said the things that he said about Paris. Now, I'm aware that you've got agents at play here, that United are negotiating with Mourinho currently over his contract. This is the sort of thing that an agent puts into the press, puts into the world, allows to be released, whether it's true or whether it's not true. This is the sort of thing that an agent does to make the club panic a little bit, maybe hurry up with the negotiations, maybe bump up their price, something along those lines. But if Jose actually said what's being reported that he said, then I do worry. Because I've got my concerns about Jose not putting roots down in Manchester. I've got my concerns about Jose still living in a hotel. I've got my concerns over the longevity of Jose Mourinho at any club. That being said, I think Jose is doing a good job, and I include what happened at the weekend at that. And I've seen so many people massively overreact to what's been going on with the result from Anfield. Now, last week I was saying all week, I will take a draw. Now, regardless that Liverpool had only won one game in 7, regardless that Liverpool have got the third worst defence in the Premier League, I would have took a draw going to Anfield. And when you think about what happened on the back, or just prior to starting, so we lost Michael Carrick, we heard Rashford got a knock, Bailly didn't play. Now, if you're Jose Mourinho and you've worked on a plan all week long, probably involves Bailly, probably involves Marcus Rashford, and then that changes at the last minute, your ability to be a little bit more adventurous at Anfield is nullified. Your ability to do things that you couldn't do at Anfield is a little bit nullified. And as I said, I would have took a draw. Now, I'm not happy with the performance that Manchester United has shown, because it's one of the worst performances I've seen under Jose Mourinho. But I'm happy with the result, or at least content with the result. I'm not happy. I wasn't like, yes, we got a draw. I was like, okay, I'm taking that. It's not just black and white as in happy and sad. There's levels of and shades of grey. And I was proper grey after Saturday. It was a boring game. It was a disappointing game from Manchester United point of view. But do you know what I have to think back to? I think it was like 2005, 2006. John O'Shea scores the winner at the Cop End and sends United absolutely mental. We win 1-0. But do you know why? We was absolutely garbage that game. Absolutely garbage that game. We was played off the park and we get a last minute winner. Now, if we'd have got a last-minute winner, everyone would have been talking about a Jose Mourinho masterclass, wouldn't they? The problem is we didn't get the winner. And that was the massive difference in this. Lukaku had probably the best chance for Manchester United, and he didn't go in. Now, I've seen a lot of people saying, oh, Harry Kane scores that, because clearly Harry Kane scores more than 100% of his chances if you listen to some people. Lukaku missed his chance. It happens. It was a disappointing game for him. I thought he was very quiet. I thought Mkhitaryan was very quiet. And we've got some of the comments coming up later on. Abdul absolutely nails it in the fan cams that we've got coming up later on for you, where he says that we just was very sloppy in possession. I think that's the key for me. Whatever Jose's tactics were, Jose's tactics can only take the team so far. The individual players themselves have to take the game the rest of the way. And what I saw from Manchester United at weekend was players not doing the basics right. Players that was unable to do the basics of like keeping possession and moving it up the pitch with any sort of quality that you would expect from Manchester United. The reasons for that? I don't know. Some people are speculating that the international break has a negative effect on Manchester United. Well, actually, a lot of our players didn't go on international break. They stayed at the club and they trained. Now, when you try and analyse the reasons for that, is it the travel? Probably not, because every club and every other opposition has got players that have to travel for international duty nowadays. Premier League's filled with like 6, 7, 8, 9 internationals in every single team. So I don't think it's the travel. But I think there might be something legitimate in the preparation. Some of the players only made it back to Manchester on Thursday. So I think the preparation takes a knock. I think that's maybe something that United need to look at. If you look at what we did in the Europa League last year, the knock-on effect was quite bad in the league. Maybe international break is being the knock-on for us this year. I'm going to see what you guys are saying in the comments. Liverpool dominated. They did, but ultimately Liverpool didn't get the win. And I think people are forgetting that. I think people are massively forgetting that it was a draw. And in these games, you can't lose. That's the primary objective. Away from home, your first objective is don't lose. The second objective is try and get the win. When you're at home, you have to win. Now, I wouldn't accept a draw at home against Liverpool. And Liverpool shouldn't be accepting a draw at home against Manchester United. But a draw away from home is a perfectly acceptable result. Sir Alex Ferguson in his last game at Anfield won. It was 2-1. And it was that awesome volley from Raphael. And it was the penalty from Robin van Persie. I'm sure you remember it. But do you remember Fergie's other win prior to that at Anfield? His last win prior to his very last game at Anfield. It was in 2008. It was a 1-0 Tevez goal. There was a 4-year gap where we didn't win at Anfield. I think we drawn 1 and lost 3. This is a place that you cannot go to, regardless of how good the team is. Think about it. We got to Champions League finals in 2009 and 2011, but we wasn't good enough to win at Anfield. So why can we expect a team that's still going through a massive transition can just go to Anfield and just pick up a win like it's easy? Especially when you're missing arguably one of our best players this season in Fellaini, probably the best footballer we've got at the club in Paul Pogba, the calm and experience of Michael Carrick, and you're playing a midfielder, Matic and Herrera, who for whatever circumstances haven't played a lot together this season. And then you've got a knock to Marcus Rashford, who's one of the brightest stars in the league at the moment. And it's easy to see why Manchester United couldn't really go and obviously was missing Eric Bailly at the back as well. Now, but for David De Gea, who is undoubtedly the best goalkeeper in the world, that could have not been a clean sheet for us, and we could have got absolutely pumped. But we didn't. We come away with a draw, and a draw is a good result for us. You all see me get absolutely roasted by Carragher and with Neville on Friday night. Gary Neville was saying a draw at Anfield is a good result. I think he knows what he's talking about. Andy Cole also said a draw at Anfield is a good result. A draw is a good result. It's as simple as that. The press are playing on it massively because Manchester United are the news. And for some reason, they're not picking up on the fact that Chelsea lost to a team that hadn't even scored a goal prior to this weekend. And Arsenal lost to Watford. That's not news. Manchester United getting a draw at Anfield apparently is embarrassing. I've seen people say that the draw at Anfield is embarrassing. You're embarrassing because a draw at Anfield is a good result. Let's see what you guys are saying in the comments. Nazy says, not acceptable. Fergie attacks, doesn't come and park the bus. See, that's not right, mate. You need to actually go and understand what you're saying and know the history of what you're saying before you come out with comments like that, because that's what happened. As I said to you, I'm not happy with the performance, but I'm taking the result. LVG did twice. Yes, we have done since Fergie. We've won a couple of times. I was using Fergie because a lot of people said Fergie went and attacked at Anfield. No, he didn't. Not every time. Take away the score and Liverpool won, apparently. We're getting to that one in a minute. You just sit tight. Young lost the ball more than anything. Kagawa better than Mickey. Oh, I don't know about that, but Kagawa's a hell of a player. After all the last-minute injuries, the ones we already knew, we needed our fit players to stand up and be counted, and that didn't happen. That says William in the comments. De Gea was the only exception. And I think that's the thing, mate. The players didn't stand up. You've got to go to Anfield and be a man, haven't you? This is a hostile environment. It's always a massive occasion. And if you struggle, then you struggle, and you properly struggle. Anyway, let's go and see what Jose Mourinho's got to say in this weekend's press conference.
Don't tell me what Jurgen told, because I'm not here to comment his words.
Did he come for a point?
No, we came for 3. But in the second half, we felt difficult to do that with the match, with the dynamics it has. I was waiting for Jurgen to change. I was waiting for him to go more attacking, but he kept the 3 strong midfield players all the time, where he was having control, because I had only Herrera and Matic. When I brought Lingard and Rashford, was waiting for him to bring Sturridge or Solanke, but to keep attacking players. But he decided to change player by player and kept the strong midfield, and that midfield today was stronger than my midfield. I had Herrera and Matic, nobody else. I had nobody on the bench to try to make it different. I couldn't bring Herrera to the position 10 where he could be more aggressive in the high pressing. So the team was getting below. At the times I felt that probably my team was waiting for me to do something, but I couldn't do without any midfield player on the bench. So the second half was more difficult. Was more difficult for us.
Jose, do you feel then with the start you've made, the good start you've made, and the more difficult start Liverpool have made, was the onus on Klopp and Liverpool to make the game today?
I don't know. Anyone makes the game he wants or he tries. Sometimes you try and the game doesn't go in the direction you in the direction you want. I know. It's simple. If we score a goal in the first half, then the second half probably is different, because then he risks, then he changed structure. And when I brought Lingard and Rashford, I was waiting for him to give him more space to counter. But he didn't give me. He didn't give me. So I know that probably you think we were defensive and they were offensive. Well, you are at home and you don't move anything. I don't know. I was waiting for that. He didn't. I think he did well, honestly. I think he did well. He didn't let the game break. I think Lingard and Rashford they were waiting for the game to be broken. The game was never broken. They kept always Chan, Wijnaldum and Anderson, and they did very well. They pressed high, they recovered the ball. So I think they were very good by the defensive point of view. Good pressing, very good team by the defensive point of view.
There was not much ambition in your performance.
That's your idea. That's your analyze.
What you're saying, Jose, is what you expected him to do was to change the formation later on and not bring on like-for-like players.
I was. But I'm not criticizing, eh? I'm just saying, as a coach, you are on the bench and you try to anticipate things. And I have no midfielder to do what I do many times, which is to be with 3 strong midfield players and then give more freedom to my all 3 attacking players. I couldn't do that. No Fellaini, no Carrick, no Pogba, nothing at all. And then I thought the only chance I have to change the direction of the game is to bring players with 1-against-1, bring players with speed, and maybe, and that's what I told the players at half-time, maybe they are going to change, but they didn't.
We'll look forward to this game as the sort of the classico of English football.
Yeah.
It wasn't a great entertaining game today. Would you agree with that?
It depends of what is for you an entertaining game, you know. One thing is an entertaining game for fans. Another thing is entertaining game for the people that read football in a different way. That's different.
So do you think this is a bit of a kind of a sort of purist coach's masterclass?
You know, for me, second half was a bit of chest, but my opponent didn't open the door for me to win the game.
Over some of the things that he has actually just said. So at the start of the presser, I love this answer. And someone starts talking about what Jurgen Klopp has said, and he just says, "Don't ask me what he said." And yeah, why do I care what Jurgen Klopp's got to say? We've just played. It's over. Forget about it. The first real thing that he says that I think is really interesting, and when you think back at how some of our victories have come about this season, I've been saying all throughout the season that the 4-0s have masked some things in our performances. We've actually still struggled to break teams down. Swansea sticks out. I think we scored from a set piece, and then we only scored the remaining 3 goals. Admittedly, we did it in about 90 seconds, but we only just scored those last 3 goals once they switched up their formation and went for us. Now, Jose says he was waiting for Jurgen to make a change, waiting for him to go more attacking. Mentions Fellaini, Pogba, Carrick all missing, no one to bring on. And he was waiting for the game to break. He mentions the game to break. And I think what he's trying to say by that, because I've never heard that phrase before, waiting for the game to break. I think what he means is I'm waiting for their formation to break, waiting for them to go, let's take a defender off, let's put a midfielder on. Let's take a midfielder on, off and let's put an attacker on. Waiting for them to break their rigid structure and go for it. Nobody's criticising Jurgen Klopp for failing to score at home against Manchester United and break us down, when actually we didn't have everybody behind the ball. The average position maps of Manchester United and Liverpool actually doesn't show that United was behind the ball all that much. We had players in attacking areas, we just couldn't find them. Jose was right. He was waiting to bring on Rashford, waiting to bring on Lingard, but he was waiting to see what the other manager's going to do. That's sensible. You can't just turn up and go, I'm playing like this, and deal with it. That's what Jurgen Klopp does, and that's why they've not won one, or they've won 1 game in 8. You know, that's what Pep Guardiola does. And yes, I know everyone's going absolutely nuts about Guardiola and City at the moment. I mean, it must be amazing. The 27 fans that turn up at the Etihad every single week are getting to see a right treat. If only more fans would turn up, they'd be in for a good game. But City are scoring lots and lots of goals. That was never the problem. They did this under Pellegrini. They did this under Pellegrini all the time. They had exactly the same start to the season under Pellegrini. They did this last season. What did they win? You tell me what they won. They won jack shit is what they won. Once it starts getting into the mix of the Champions League, once it starts getting into the middle rounds of the League Cup, once it starts getting like close to coming into the FA Cup, Manchester City have fell apart. Now, they might not do that this season, but they have been picking up injuries. The key is going to be when we play each other. It doesn't matter how much they snot sides, right? Everyone's comparing our result to their result. Oh, they put 5 past Liverpool and we couldn't score. Cool. We put 4 past Everton and they drew with them. Why is no one bringing this up? If you're going to start comparing results, let's compare all the results. But the one that matters is what we do to them in December, and then I think April is the return one. Let's talk about it then, right? Until then, City have won jack shit. If you start awarding the Premier League title out in October, you're going to look pretty foolish, because I'm sure Arsenal have won about 5 out of the last 10 in October. Right then, everything else that he said. So he also says, someone mentions that he didn't have much ambition, and he shuts him down straight away. He says, that's your idea. And I think that's your analysis, and I think he's absolutely bang on with that. How do you know what we was trying to do? Now, the fact that we didn't manage to achieve what we set out to achieve, we don't know what we set out to achieve because the players didn't play well enough to do that. Like I said earlier, if we'd have got that single solitary goal, people would have been talking about a Jose Mourinho masterclass. We just didn't get the goal. Right, let's see what you guys are saying in the comments. Ollie Jackson, it's quite worrying that Jose wouldn't take the United job serious enough to stay in the long term. Are we just another stepping stone? If so, we're in a transitional period once he leaves, and will PSG throw money at him as soon as the next summer? Will we have to find a new manager long term and start again? Now, sorry, I had to read that really quick because I knew it was about to drop off the bottom of the page. Yes, and this is a concern I've had for a couple of years, that I said as soon as you appoint Jose Mourinho, who I think will be successful to a degree at Manchester United, the clock is ticking. The stopwatch has started as soon as he is appointed that he's going to go. He's not going to retire here at 70 years old. That was never going to happen. So what worries me is what is Ed Woodward and what are the Glazers doing in terms of a succession plan. This for me is where we need a sporting director, someone that can actually go to the board and do something, because there's problems at Manchester United. There's problems with the under-23s, there's problems with recruitment, there's problems with all sorts of stuff. You've seen how much the scouting system has been overhauled in the last year and a half, 2 years. That's because that's been needed to be done for probably 10 years since the Glazers have got here. Somebody needs to be able to go to the board. Someone needs to sit over the football manager, because let's face it, we're in an era now where football managers are coming and going 2 to 3 seasons deep. So you need to have someone who's got a longer term vision that they can implement that and get that on the way. Now, yes, maybe Pochettino is a guy. He needs to prove himself winning things for me. Maybe Tuchel is a guy that can do it. Maybe Marco Silva, who's proven himself to be a very astute tactician at the moment. There's a lot of good managers out there. I've seen Diego Simeone mentioned, but people are complaining about Mourinho parking the bus. Not going to enjoy football on Diego Simeone at all. Tygo says Mourinho sucks. He plays such boring football. I know, man. All those 4-0s we've had this year. Christ, been bored out my head. Lingard and Motta should have started ahead of Mkhitaryan for the work rate. Yes, Sean, I agree with that, mate. I wanted to see Rashford and Lingard both start just for that press, because the one thing that I noticed during the game was that Liverpool was walking out of defence with it really easily, and that's where they're weakest. And we saw it against Chelsea, and we've seen it multiple times when Marcus Rashford decides that he's just going to... We saw it when he came on for those brief couple of minutes. Like, when a player's in possession with it, Marcus Rashford's running at you, they panic. And when they panic, they put a risky ball in, and we can win that second ball, and we can start an attack from inside the opposition's third. And that's something that I thought Manchester United missed a trick on. But if he had a knock and he couldn't play 90 minutes, then he had a knock and he couldn't play 90 minutes. And that's one of those things we've got to do. Why don't people see that Arsenal lost, Chelsea lost, and Liverpool drew with us, except Tottenham? No one in the top half won. Well, obviously City did. But yeah, I completely agree. Because United are news, hated, adored, never ignored. Who would I put my mortgage on for the Premier League right now? Nobody. Because it's October. Damian got skinned almost every time by Oxlade-Chamberlain. He's too slow and clunky. You also got to remember Oxlade-Chamberlain came on fresh and Damian had been playing for an hour or so. But yeah, I mean, I think... See, this is the point. He was getting skinned because we was pressing at the other end. Rashford was high. He wasn't coming on and sitting in Damian's pocket, was it? These are the things that you can see when you look at the individual players on the pitch. But everyone just goes, Jose parked the bus. Well, he didn't. You can't show me anything that shows that we parked the bus, because we didn't do that. Salford Reds MUFC says it's about winning trophies. Entertainment does not guarantee that. No, one of the most entertaining sides of the night was probably Kevin Keegan's Newcastle. Tell me exactly what they won, fellas. Yeah, and Guardiola's side last year, how many times did we see them put 4, 5, 6 goals past teams? It happened a lot, didn't it? What did they win exactly? What did they win exactly? Nothing, thank you. Is Damian playing his correct position? Yes, I think he can play left back. Jose is the perfect tactician. Sorry, missed that one. Dropped off the page. How long until Carrick's back? I don't even know what's wrong with him, so I can't even say. When Pogba's back, Herrera will be benched. Do you know what I wouldn't mind seeing if he was available? Is Pogba, Herrera and Matic, because I think those three together was a real nice blend, and a three-man midfield would have been perfect, I think, against these guys. It's so funny to see the Scousers moan, yes, and we've got an absolute cracker coming for you in a second in the fan cams. Honestly, this guy said this with a straight face. I think he meant it. I know Scousers are known for their witty sense of humour, but I think this guy actually meant this, and that's crazy. We're going to get to that in a second. I can't believe the pundits are giving the title to City already. It's what they have to do, isn't it? And this is what they do all of the time. Should we buy Griezmann in January? If he's available, yes, 100%. Tygo says just over 30%. It wasn't just over 30%, was it? It was 38%. Yeah, not parking the bus. You forget that what happens is what the opposition do as well as what we're doing. We were sloppy in possession. That was why we had low possession, because we wasn't finding our players with our own passes. Doesn't mean that we parked the bus. Go and look at where every player was average position on the pitch. We didn't park the bus, my friend. Must win against Huddersfield, absolutely. And this is it. So if we go to the end of the month and we manage to get 3 points against Spurs and win all the remaining games, a point at Anfield is a fantastic result. I don't know where City are going to drop their points, but mark my words, City are not going to go for the rest of the season winning every single game. It isn't going to happen. We just have to keep pace with them and hopefully try and overtake them by beating them in the derby or drawing at the Etihad and beating them at Old Trafford. And I will take that. Carrick has the same quite unexplained injuries Rooney's had in his last season with us. Well, it's because you're not seeing him play on the pitch and picking up an injury doesn't mean he's not picking them up in training. Remember, the guy's old as well now. People are ridiculous about City, says Charlie. If United had done the same thing, they say it's a long way to go. Of course they would. Kane or Lukaku? Still Lukaku for me, for the way United play. Chelsea lost to a team that can't score. United draw with Liverpool at Anfield. That says a lot. Exactly, Nabil. Where is Luke Shaw? Injured again or just not in the plans? He played yesterday for the under-23s and, let's be honest, was pretty ordinary. He's got a long way to go before he's going to be the first choice at United. City's attack is scary for the time being, says a bit of a weirdo. It is, but their defence is also pretty scary in the completely opposite style of things. I mean, they conceded 2 goals pretty quickly against Stoke. Are they going to have as many chances against United? Are they going to be able to score 7 against United? I guarantee they're not. And if they're conceding 2 against Stoke, then I think we can score against them as well. People say Mbappe is better than Rashford are crazy. They're both really good potential players, aren't they? And I think that's all you can say at the moment. Salford Red, yeah, 4-3-3 would have been perfect on Saturday. I think the problem was getting overrun in midfield. It absolutely was. Yeah, that's a reason why I'm not really a big fan of 4-2-3-1. But I think the injuries dictate the dictated the formation. Mohammed says, what's my excuse for the sloppy passes? I didn't play a sloppy pass, so I'm not making an excuse for myself. But there were sloppy passes. It happens sometimes. Players didn't have their head on it. That's nothing that Jose Mourinho could do. What do you want Jose to do? He'd be like, he's not standing on a sideline going, misplaced that pass, mate. Bang in. Come on, son. We did not get a proper replacement since Evra left. Should we get Evra? We could have got Evra, couldn't we? We should have got Evra. Why wasn't one on the bench? He was on the bench, I think. One moment in the whole game is not acceptable. No, it's not. No one's saying it is acceptable. People are saying the result is acceptable. The performance was not acceptable, but the result is. Let me just throw this one at you. Champions League final 1999. Do you remember the game? It's probably the worst game of football I've ever seen, if I'm being completely honest. We got battered. Probably should have been 3-4-0 after about an hour. Who won the game? Right? Sometimes the performance doesn't matter. The result is all that matters. Howson, you are wrong about City. They had 2 games last year where they scored 5. Near the end of the season against Palace and Watford, their attacking is on a whole new level this year. Did they not start the season on fire last year? Did they not? Did I imagine that? I don't think I imagined it. Who do I think he's going to get his hands on the golden boot? I reckon it'll probably be the player who scores the most goals by the end of the season. I reckon. Needed Pogba to dictate the centre of the park like Scholes used to do. Yeah, actually, that was something that Gary Neville said on Friday night, that you need players that are brave in these games, a player that's not afraid to take the ball. When Manchester United used to go to Anfield, he said we would always look for Scholes because Scholes always wanted the ball, and you knew that there was quality going to happen whenever Scholes got on the ball. Our best ball player at the moment, all right, sometimes he takes a little bit too many risks, but our best ball player is Paul Pogba. we didn't have Paul Pogba, and I think this is the game that we really started to miss him. Because we've been so good in the other games, we haven't really missed him, but the big games against the big teams is where you need your big players, and we didn't have them. Right, let's go to Anfield. Let's see some of the fan counts from this weekend, including this absolutely mental Scouser, who we need to find, because he might be the craziest man alive. Have a look.
Poor, very poor. Happy with the point. The managers, I'm not, because Liverpool are poor. There's only that, I think it's Palace and is it Burnley who've conceded less than them. They're there for the taking.
Performance-wise, did you win the game though?
No.
Effort-wise, did you win the game though?
No.
So, take away the results, we won the game.
Yeah. No, wait. To be honest with you, taking on a 0-0 draw, bruv, listen, I'll take that all day, every single day, especially after the way in which we played.
We're playing it so simple, a lot of our plays, and also sloppy passes from Matic, Herrera. They all have, for example, a 5 out of 10 game. They didn't have a mistake in them, but there wasn't that killer pass in the end from Mkhitaryan.
I expected at least for us to go for it. At least for it. Oh God, it was overhyped.
Yeah, it's allowed to have a little dip of form. And the thing is, again, if we played well today, you know, we crafted chances against a team that
Did you?
Yeah.
The way the game went, I think we had a few chances to probably take the 1-0 lead, but just didn't happen.
Best goalie in the world by far.
Scouse one, Ron Weasley got a bit excited there, didn't he? If you take away the performance, we won. What? Now, I know the media bias that Liverpool get and the favouritism that they get in the media and the fact that they've all just been completely brainwashed with this absolute fraud of a manager that they've got in Jurgen Klopp, who's no better than Brendan Rodgers. If you take away the performance, we won. Is up there with we showed great character and all that sort of the moral victory. You drew at home where you should have won. There's no moral victory. There's nothing. I mean, I saw Manchester United have 37 shots on goal against Burnley. We drew. We come out and go, we should have scored, we should have won. You can't take away the result and we won. Honestly, that might be the mentalest thing I've ever heard said, and I read YouTube comments. Anyway, let's see what everybody else had to say in there. So, Abdul, as I said, nailed it. Sloppy passes. That was the major problem for me, because if United had been a bit more incisive with some of our passes, if we'd have put them into the channels with a bit more vigour, if we'd have managed to just have a little bit more quality to our play, we might have created more chances. We might have had more touches in the opposition box, and that might have led to us getting that all-important goal, which would have seen us with 3 points, and then what would everybody said about Jurgen Klopp then? Hey, what would they have said? Paul from Redmen says, they played well today, but ultimately didn't win. Like I said earlier, we saw Stoke, we saw Arsenal, we saw Burnley come to Old Trafford last season and frustrate and get a draw. It's a victory for the away team. It's on you as the home team to win these things. You can't sit there and complain. How many times have we seen it as United fans? Oh, we should have won today. We didn't. You can't sit there. You haven't won in 8, right? When is the media going to start talking about this rather than the fact that Jose got a good result on the road and calling it in, parking the bus and trying to be negative about it? Liverpool, for this so-called amazing transition that they're on, have won 1 in 8. Nothing said. Raheem at the end there, best goalkeeper in the world. Yep, I don't think there's much doubt now that David De Gea is above every other goalkeeper in the world. Fact. He's better than all of them. I would take him over any of them. I think he's amazing. SLR says, how good is Mason Greenwood? Well, the secret's starting to get out now, isn't it? He's pretty damn special. Scored a hat-trick again at the weekend. Second youngest player to ever do so, I think in the Premier League era at least. Right behind Angel Gomez, and he's all right as well, isn't he? Pereira for Mickey in big games. What evidence have you got that Pereira's going to do better? Because he's looked good in a few pre-season games. Come on, mate. You have to be a bit more sensible than this. Luke Chadwick, United legend, says Flea. All right. United had 0-0 draws at home last season. We didn't end up saying we won. No, we didn't. We said we should have won, and we didn't. That's what we ended up saying. Rifleman 7 says, will Zlatan have a big part to play in our season? I'm sure he will. I don't know how. I don't know why. I don't know where. I'm sure he will. David says, can't wait for Pogba and our number 10 to come back. I'm assuming he means Zlatan, obviously, yeah. His literal number 10, not positional number 10. Peter says, I blame the shite international break. They're talking about revamping the international scene, aren't they? There's going to be all these different leagues, which I think is a really good idea, but I don't know if it's still going to be like one a month, or again, it's not about that, is it? Amongst the players who are injured, unavailable, who do we need the most now? Pogba, simple. He's probably one of the best players at the club, if not the best player at the club. People forget he's a special player, and I think he might have made a difference yesterday. Don't I think Blind should play? I personally do. I think personally Blind could have played that Carrick kind of role in midfield at weekend, and that would have been great for us. Mourinho doesn't see him like that. He ain't going to play him like that. Liverpool's attack is nothing special. They're not scoring enough. They are scoring goals. They're not scoring as many as us, despite all the plaudits that they're getting, but they are scoring some goals. Ibra can play behind Rom like Cavani at his time at PSG. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that actually, because I think certainly in a game like that, I think that could have been a good one. Ibra's the kind of guy that is going to want the ball and is going to come short for it, and that's a problem when he's playing as your number 9. But if he's playing behind a number 9, then that's an excellent trait to have. Someone on the edge of that final third who's got the ability to pick it up, because did you ever see Ibra get bullied off the ball? You didn't. He's always open for the ball, and he's actually got good vision and good pass on him as well to be able to find somebody else. Was a poor performance, but I take a draw against Liverpool at the end of the week, says Polygon. Absolutely. Not asked about the result. It's decent, to be fair. I'm pissed with the reaction, blaming the players. We should have kept Pereira, then play Shaw. Again, yeah, Shaw, Fosu and Pereira, they all might have got some sort of opportunity. But Luke Shaw does look a long way from the races. I mean, Fosu Mensah's smashing it at Crystal Palace, but Luke Shaw does look a long way from being fit at the moment. I think possibly needs to go for a loan somewhere. Do I think Zlatan could play number 10? Yes. Jose said he would love to manage Portugal. Yeah, he said a lot of things, hasn't he? None of them involve building a house and staying in Manchester for 25 years. Charlie says, to be fair, Lukaku got 0 service. Yeah, I totally agree. I think that he's definitely going to be better when he's got better service around him. As someone mentioned earlier, we had 30-odd% possession, and that's the problem. Is my audio going out?
I'll just cut you.
Right, are we back? I think we're back. Hooray! The software that we used to stream completely crashed, and then it came back and we had no sound, so we had to restart it like 47 times, but we are back. We made it back. Right, you guys give me some questions, and I'm going to start reading and answering some of them questions, and then we'll get straight back to the mix, and we'll carry on with the video, and then we'll clip it up later, and there'll be no mixes in there, and then it'll be like nothing ever happened, like magic. Right, let's go. We need someone better than the current Mickey. I mean... The guy has one bad game this season and everyone's can't wait to drop him. It's too quick, man. Regarding Jose's contract power play, do I think he wants to insert a clause in the contract which ensures that the club will back him in the transfer market? Well, no, I don't think so, because the club have proven that they've backed him in the transfer market. I think it's not just a transfer market that a manager's job is based on. There's obviously things that he wants at the training ground. There's certain conditions in terms of like all sorts of stuff. It's not just the transfer market where the board can screw you or the board and the manager can fall out, but that's obviously a big one. Software engineer role available? Yeah, maybe. Hit us up. Do I think we need to change a change at left back in January? I do. Luke Shaw looks so far away from being the player that we saw prior to his leg break. I'm not sure he's going to get it back at Manchester United with the pressure being on him there. He might need a loan somewhere. He might have to go away and come back to get back to where he was. Demi Mitchell's still too raw, although did pretty well at weekend. There's nobody standing out as a left back at the moment, and I think a good left back, even if it's just a transitional one, would be fantastic. Should we start the campaign to get Evra back to United? I'm sure Marseille would let him come back, wouldn't they, for nothing? What do they want? About 100 grand? Let's get it paid. Do we need an improvement on Herrera? Not slating him, but he's limited and his engine alone isn't enough. I totally disagree. I think Herrera's a top player. Barcelona aren't looking at him, seriously looking at him, because he's a garbage player, are they? Think about it. Can Lingard be a Park Ji-sung type of player if he gets more physical? Yes, that's exactly the sort of player that he is. Park Ji-sung wasn't the best in terms of quality, but in terms of his movement, his work rate, his attitude, perfect. And that's exactly what Jesse Lingard offers us. I do think he probably just needs to be a little bit stronger, though, because he is pretty small. Darren says, I'm watching this and there's 150-kilometre winds outside. Lucky to still have electricity. Wow, all right. Zlatan says, get Evra, need someone to dance with Pogba and Lingard. That man can dance. Think how good he'd be in the dressing room. Tom says, if he plays introduced youth players, i.e. Fosu Mensah, Andreas, Tuanzebe, he's not brave enough. Well, yes, to an extent, but like none of them are obvious players to come in at the moment. Tuanzebe, I think, is probably... Tuanzebe and Fosu Mensah are the closest to come in, but where's the obvious position that they come in at? There's no real obvious left-back. Joe Riley could play left-back. I don't think he's going to get his opportunity there. Could Cameron Borthwick-Jackson play left-back? I'm not sure. We need something better than all of those, I think, at the moment. We've got a lot of fronts that we're competing on. Do we need to spend 50 million on a left-back? I don't think so. There's got to be some good left-backs out there that we can pick up, I'm sure. Danny Rose, again, do you really want to go to buy Spurs? I wouldn't want to buy a burger off Spurs, to be honest. What are we missing to get to Barcelona and Madrid level? I think if we got Griezmann, and you've got a forward three of Lukaku, Griezmann and Martial, or Martial/Rashford, I think that's at Barcelona, Real Madrid kind of level. A midfield of Matic and Pogba, I think that's probably at that level. Baye can be, Valencia can be. I think the second centre-half and the full-back that we've got, and possibly one or two backups in each position. So probably 3 or 4 players in the grand scheme of things. But not just 3 or 4 players, a little bit of development, a little bit of team building where we build them together as a team. And it's Mourinho's team itself. And I think that we could be there or thereabouts, because obviously we've already got the best goalkeeper in the world. Jay O'Connell says, form goes out the window, happy with the point, and denied Liverpool all 3. Fosu Mensah would have been great in midfield. If he plays him there, he's not really played him there. But yeah, I think Fosu Mensah's energy might have been something that really helped at weekend. Troy says, what's Fosu Mensah's best position? People haven't got a cemented position, end up like Ox. Yes, now that's something that you would hope that he starts to really get. Now he's playing on the right of a 3 in a 3-man defence at the moment at Crystal Palace. For me, as a defensive midfielder, he's an anchor man, he's a holding midfielder, He's that sort of destroyer sort of player. Reminds me a lot of Gattuso, if anyone remembers that little maniac that AC Milan used to have. That is what I could see Fosu Mensah growing into. His quality on the ball is too good for him to be at centre-half for me. You get a very good defender out of Fosu Mensah at centre-half, but you get this extra dimension of player that's got a good pass on him and a good drive through the middle and a lot of energy. And I like him more in midfield. For me, as a defensive midfielder, obviously not a number 6 like Michael Carrick, but definitely more in that crazy nutcase like Gattuso sort of style. Do I prefer a midfield 2 or a midfield 4? Neither, 3. How impressed have I been with Jones this season? Very shocked, actually, because at the end of last season when he was coming back from his injuries and he was played in the under-23s, he did not look the best centre-half in the under-23s by a long stretch last season. It looked like he was the rookie and the likes of Roshan and Tuanzebe were the experienced pros, but he's stepped it up, levelled it up and looks fantastic for us this season. What's my thoughts on Mata not playing? I kind of expected it, to be honest. I actually thought you would go with tempo and work rate over what Mata offers you, but maybe Mata's quality on the ball was what was missed because we was so sloppy in possession. Right, I think everything's now working behind the scenes here, so we're going to try and give you Simon Preston, who's joining us for United on YouTube today. Take it away.
2 points dropped or 1 point gained? Well, in my opinion, it's 1 point gained. A lot of people will say that Manchester United parked the bus on a Saturday, but they didn't. Everybody knows that Liverpool ups the ante when they play Manchester United every single time. It's quite frustrating, but that's what they do when they play Manchester United, whether at Anfield or at Old Trafford. They had their